But let us go inside the church now of Martin, come Gregory, disused church. I'm just trying to look for my other microphone back. But it is used as a stained glass centre. And when we were here earlier, there was a lady who I can just see who's with some people. So we'll just take a moment just to admire the interior of this church. And then hopefully in just a moment we're going to get a little bit of a demonstration. And we're going to hear a little bit, Martin come Gregory, a little bit about this church and in particular the stained glass. Because there's a lady here that is by the name of Anne, who has agreed very, very kindly to pop on a microphone and tell us a little bit about what is going on over here. So can you just take, are you here okay through this microphone?
Sorry.
That's quite all right. So this is Anne, and when we popped in earlier, I couldn't help but notice that Anne had some sort of demonstration stuff down here. So can you just tell us a little bit about what we've got here? Because people are very, very interested in stained glass. So
yes.
Could you perhaps explain a little bit about what you've got in front of you?
Yeah, what we normally do with stained glass is we take coloured glass and we cut it into a pattern and put it together with leads.
Yeah. So it's linked with lead, yep.
So you would end up with something like this.
Yes.
Which is a little free hanging piece joined together with leads and just soldered together.
Yep.
But you can put added detail on by painting on the glass. So
there's painting and staining, so there's two different things for colour there.
Painting and staining. The coloured glass itself, we don't usually refer to that as stained glass.
Yes.
But when you put added detail on, and especially when you put on something called silver stain.
Silver stain, yeah.
Silver stain, that turns it yellow, and that's what we call stained glass.
Okay.
But if you want added detail on, you can paint on the glass. So here is some painted glass, which I'm preparing for a house in York. It's a house called Cherry Tree Lodge, so it's a running pattern of cherry leaves and cherries on it. And the leaves will have a little bit of yellow colour on. So like this oak leaf here, the leaves will have a tint of yellow on.
Yep.
And the cherries will be painted with red enamel. So here I have it'll be thinned down version of the red enamel that's going to go on the cherries in the panel here.
So you've got like a light box here, haven't you, which is obviously using you to illustrate how the colours would show up in the final finish, yeah?
Yeah, it's to show how the daylight's going to come through so you can judge how dark it is, how intense it all is.
And have you hand-drawn these images, or is this from print? How do you create the images in the first place?
This is hand-drawn, so you'd take a very fine brush, and using a bench rest and a fine brush, and you simply paint.
You've got a very steady hand.
Use the bench rest, steadies the hand completely.
Yeah.
So the fingers are moving, but the hand is absolutely rigid. And obviously this is done in a bit of a hurry, but it gives you a basic idea of how you do your outlines.
I love that you do that swirly. You do it effortlessly, and yet you've got the most beautiful swirl.
Lots of practice.
Lots of practice. So how did you get started?
I was doing 3D design at the art school, and it was a course that was mostly based on tools and materials, so working out how things work. And stained glass is one of the things we had to go at. I've always liked making things. You can make these things with just a very few basic hand tools. You don't need much equipment, and you can do it all yourself from start to finish.
So I guess the question that I know people are interested in is obviously we've been around the city. Yesterday we were in All Saints, very near here, wonderful stained glass. We were in Holy Trinity. Would the medieval stained glass workers, would they recognise what you're doing? Has it changed markedly, or is this essentially the same techniques that they would have applied?
It's essentially the same techniques in most respects. It's the tools that have changed more than anything else.
Yeah.
The glass is the same, the glass paint is the same. I don't have to start my working life by making my own brushes.
No. Which
is useful. But everything else, kilns are now fired with electricity or with gas. They would have been wood-fired, charcoal-fired or coal-fired originally. Other technologies have changed a little bit. We have a modern glass cutter now, so that's the glass cutter that I would use. They would use a hot iron across the glass to crack it where they wanted it and then nibble it into shape. But generally speaking, anybody walking in here today, it wouldn't take them more than a few minutes to recognise what I'm doing. Yes.
Absolutely, So it's a wonderful bit of connectivity, to our kind of medieval artisan and craftspeople and artists.
Yes.
Is continued, and of course, in a city such as this, it's so important, isn't it, we retain the skills for the renovation and replacement, because many of them periodically need that work doing, right?
They do, and people need new work, new innovative work, but using the same processes, same techniques, and the same beautiful, beautiful glass.
And would you say, is it experiencing an upturn in popularity, a surge in popularity right now, coloured glass, or is that...
It comes in stages. It depends on contemporary design aesthetic.
Yes.
In the 60s, everything was ripped out because they went back to Scandinavian, pared back and blonde.
Yes.
Now it's coming back to reinstating Victorian, Edwardian things in older houses, or in new houses, people like to have artworks.
Indeed.
Bright, colourful, interesting things.
I think
it
makes us happy, doesn't it? The sun shining through coloured glass.
Oh, yes.
There is something, isn't it, that resonates within us at a very simple level.
I think there are very few people who are completely oblivious to stained glass.
Yeah.
Some people hate it because of their connections with churches and things, but most people, they look at it and they go, wow.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little of your time and your craft with us. It is absolutely amazing, and I think it's wonderful that, as I say, that these crafts continue, but also they find scope for contemporary, whether it be in new houses or renovating old houses.
Absolutely.
That we haven't lost our love, and that we can share, and that the thought of a medieval pilgrim wandering in here 500 years ago would pretty much immediately recognise not only what you're doing, but the value of what you're doing artistically.
Yeah, hopefully, yes.
It's a wonderful connection to our past and shared heritage.
It is, and I feel very privileged to be working in this sort of a craft. You do feel very grounded when you think of all the people before you through the centuries who've taken the pleasure of doing the same sort of thing as I'm doing.
So listen, Anne, we're about to leave you, so I'm just going to turn the screen around, and I want everybody just to give some thumbs up, to give some love, and just say thank you to Anne, to Marlena there. You'll see from different locations, Wisconsin there, Chicago, I saw Brisbane going down through there, so Virginia in the USA, so California, so you do get global, so thank you. Your artistry has been enjoyed by people the world over, so thank you so much for just taking the time with us. If I can just grab that microphone back, and we'll go on to our next location.